Hey guys, this is Autistic and Autistic Explain the Brain, and today we're going to be doing this article.
Sia says she has fully become myself after unmasking autism diagnosis.
If you recognize that name, Sia is she produced a movie called Music. That's a very controversial movie within the autistic community. So yeah, we're just gonna go through the article, and I'm gonna do a few more articles too, maybe like 4 or 5 more, maybe. I don't know. Let's just get to it, guys. I'll be right back. Okay, we are back, and I think the subreddit and Discord promotion will be put after this article. So if you don't want to listen to that or don't want to watch it, I will be providing a timestamp to where you can skip it. There will be a timestamp on the video that you will be able to go to that timestamp and skip the promotion. Okay, let's get into the article. Okay, this is the article.
Sia says she has fully become myself after unmasking autism diagnosis.
Let's start the article.
Clinical relevance. Later diagnosis of autism. Man covering up symptoms by autism masking can harm mental health. Singer Sia publicly discussed her autism diagnosis in a recent podcast. Her attempts to hide her condition could fit into an unconscious strategy known as autism masking. Masking, along with being diagnosed at a later age, can have mental health implications. The singer Sia has revealed that she has autism spectrum disorder (ASD. "I felt like, for 45 years, I was like, I've got to go put my human suit on," the Chandelier singer explained on an episode of the audio series. Rob has a podcast. "And only in the last 2 years have I become fully myself." These are the first public remarks Sia, whose full name is Sia Kate Isabel Furler, has made about her diagnosis. During an appearance on the reality TV fan podcast, she congratulated Carolyn Wigger, a runner-up on the most recent installment of the show Survivor. During the conversation, she reacted to fan theories that Wigger herself was on the spectrum.
I don't know. I haven't watched Sia's movie Music for one good reason only, because of the physical restraint scenes. I'm not gonna watch something like that, but let's continue.
Wigger denied having autism, but said she had been diagnosed with ADHD and is in recovery from addiction. In response, the singer chimed in, "I'm on the spectrum and I'm in recovery and whatever. And when we finally sit in a room full of strangers and tell them our deepest, darkest, most shameful secrets, and everybody laughs along with us, and we don't feel like pieces of trash for the first time in our lives, and we feel seen. For the first time in our lives, for who we actually are, then we can start going out into the world and operating as human beings with hearts, and not pretending to be anything," she added.
That's interesting. Let's continue.
Cover up. The behavior the 47-year-old singer described tracks with a phenomenon known as autism masking, according to Hannah Louise Belcher, a clinical psychologist and lecturer at King's College London. Because Belcher has not treated Sia personally, she was not making an official diagnosis. Pretending to be human, or some people say normal and to fit in, is exactly what autistic masking is, Belcher explained to psychiatrist.com. It's a strategy to fit in with the neurotypical world, usually to avoid experiencing bullying and stigma associated with being autistic. Belcher stated that children often learn masking as an unconscious protective mechanism in early childhood. Girls and women, in particular, tend to engage in the cover-up, possibly because they receive diagnoses later than males. I think it's also worth pointing out that Sia performs with a physical mask, not showing her face and hiding it with her hair, which could be compared to her internal masking as an autistic person, Belcher noted. While masking serves as a coping and protective strategy, Belcher said that it consumes a lot of mental resources. Autistic people end up not expressing their true interests and suppressing themselves to hide their autism. Masking increases risk of mental health problems and even suicide, she said. It's a good thing Sia is speaking out about her experiences, Belcher said. It will help educate people about neurodiversity so autistic people feel less pressured to conform. Therapy, unmasking in safe situations, and seeking out autism-friendly environments can help ease the burden, too.
Okay, so you guys heard a beep earlier. It was this word that was beeped. You can't say that word on YouTube. So we're gonna start from right here, and I'm just gonna skip that word. You guys probably know why. That is a very sensitive topic here on YouTube.
Autistic people end up not expressing their true interests and suppressing themselves to hide their autism. Masking increases risk of mental health problems and even.
And yes, sadly that is true. There is a kid that did that in France, surrounding France's autism problem. Yeah, that's not good.
She said, "It's a good thing Sia is speaking out about her experiences," Belcher said. It will help educate people about neurodiversity so autistic people feel less pressured to conform. Therapy, unmasking in safe situations, and seeking out autism-friendly environments can help ease the burden, too.
Okay, let's start this next part. Let's hope it doesn't mention the word again so I don't have to bleep it out again.
Problematic musical. Sia's admission comes 2 years after what many in the autism community consider a problematic depiction of the condition in the film, Music. The musical drama, which the singer co-wrote and directed, depicted a woman who finds herself the sole caretaker of her half-sister, a teenager with nonverbal autism. The film faced backlash because it cast a neurotypical actress in the role of the autistic teen. Critics complained that she portrayed the condition in a clunky and stereotypical manner. Some fans called for a boycott of the movie due to a controversial scene where the character forcibly held the individual face down to control an episode of overstimulation. Despite the uproar, Music was nominated for 2 Golden Globe Awards. At the time, Sia called the movie a love letter to caregivers and to the autism community, but has since apologized for the restraint scenes and promised to remove them from all future showings.
She hasn't removed the restraint scenes from the movie as far as I know. I haven't watched the movie, and I do not intend on watching Music. Let's continue.
Adult diagnosis. Autism is defined as a serious developmental disorder identified in 1 in 36 children, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC). The broad range of symptoms affects social skills, repetitive behaviors, intellect and speech, and nonverbal communication. Symptom severity varies widely. Sia seems to be among a growing number of people who received a diagnosis of autism later in life. Although there are few estimates of how many people are diagnosed on the spectrum after childhood, the CDC reports that nearly 5.5 million adults in the U.S. have ASD. Later diagnosis can come at a cost to mental health. People diagnosed with autism in adulthood were nearly 3 times more likely than their childhood diagnosed counterparts to experience additional psychiatric conditions, according to a recent study in the journal Autism Research. They reported higher rates of co-occurring mood, anxiety, personality, or eating disorders compared to those identified with autism in childhood.
So, yeah, Sia is a well, the Sia movie music is a really bad movie, and I'm not gonna watch it at all. So yeah, I'll be right back, guys. Okay, guys, we're back. I'm gonna do this article next.
I have autism. TikTok trivializes my condition.
But first, we're gonna do the promotion for the subreddit and Discord. Let's roll the promotion.
I have a Discord server for the subscribers of this YouTube channel. The invite link is in the description. As the server is set to private due to Discord flagging it as having bad words in the server title, even though there are no bad words in the name. Nonetheless, the invite link can still be found in the description. Please join the server if you have a Discord account. The server's name is Autistic, explaining the autistic brain official YouTube community. The invite link to the server will be in the description, under link to our Discord server from our subscribers of this YouTube channel. I have a subreddit for subscribers of this YouTube channel. The link is in the description. It will be titled Link to Subscriber Subreddit for the YouTube channel talk after the video ends. Please join r/YTAutisticOfficial. Today.
Okay, we are back. As you can see, there's a little bit on this article. Quite a bit on this article. This may be the last article, guys. There's quite a bit on this article, and I don't think I'll have time to do everything. Well, let's start. Anyway.
I have autism. TikTok trivializes my condition.
Okay, let's continue.
I've been writing songs since I was around 7 years old. I'm a pianist, but never really liked sheet music, so I would always try.
Okay.
I've been writing songs since I was around 7 years old. I'm a pianist, but never really liked sheet music, so I would always try to do my own thing. I started performing my own original tracks when I was around 10. It's something I've always been good at, which is nice. I've never had an issue with performing. I didn't really understand that I was supposed to get nervous. Because of my autism, I often have emotions but just don't really understand what they are. I can't label them, I just feel them. But when I am forced to sit down and write a song, I get this sense of clarity, which I think is really lucky. Music in itself is very emotional. I was partially deaf until the age of 4, when I had an operation to clear a blockage in my ear. I think because of my difficulty hearing when I was a toddler, nobody ever realized I was autistic. I was extremely shy, which is really common among girls with the condition. I think the stereotypical autistic voice is very loud, so nobody thought I was that different. They just thought, Cecily doesn't really talk.
That's interesting. That's actually really interesting, guys. We don't need to zoom in. What am I doing? There we go. Sorry, I was moving that thing out of the way, guys. Continue.
When I was very young, I was diagnosed with both autism and an eating disorder around the same time. I had stopped eating for various reasons. I was dealing with some issues at home, and I noticed that on the television shows I watched and in the books that I read, if someone was skinny, then they were perceived as more vulnerable. At school, I was bullied a lot for my appearance and struggled to make friends. I thought, I can't change what I look like, but I can make myself thinner. People might feel sorry for me and be nicer to me.
That's actually really sad, guys. That's sad.
I started obsessing over the idea of being skinny, but doctors didn't really get why. They just said, she'll grow out of it. Then, when I got my diagnosis, they said it would be difficult for them to help me. because their model was not made for autistic people. I was just told this was how it was going to be. I have had many specialists in my life who I believe have seen my autism spectrum disorder ASD and thought, okay, that's it. I think eating disorders are often overlooked among autistic people. During my younger years, I was in and out of the same facility to treat my eating disorder and would always hear the same thing. I told doctors that my issue was not having any friends and feeling like nobody liked me. Usually, they said, well, that's because you're autistic and you don't understand people, but that was it. There was never any help to be able to make friends. I felt like I wasn't able to talk about any of my social issues. It seemed to be, well, that's how it is with autism. Sign.
Oh, that's crazy.
At this point, I did not feel ASD was a good thing for me to have on my file. It seemed that nobody ever wanted to help me. Mostly, I felt the doctors were dismissive, that they assumed my brain would not understand what they were talking about, which is fundamentally not true. I definitely spent my childhood and teenage years not telling people about my autism. I didn't want to be even more of an outcast than I already was. There are so many misconceptions about autism. I didn't know what my peers would think of me after telling them.
Yeah, that's really true, guys. Continue.
How my autism manifested itself, I have a lot of issues with communication. For example, nobody ever told me that speaking to your male and female friends in the same way may have different outcomes. This meant that sometimes I would speak to my guy friends in the same way as my girl mates, and they would think I was interested in them romantically. I often say things instinctively, which can sometimes offend people. For example, if someone looks bad in an outfit and asks me whether they do, I would tell them the truth. That person may be insulted, but in my eyes, I am being nice. It's not in my nature at all to be manipulative or deceptive.
Yeah. So true.
I take everything at face value and assume everyone else is doing the same. Although I'm not good at manipulating people, I'm probably not very easily manipulated because I just always assume everyone is telling the truth.
You can be easily manipulated if you do that. But okay, let's continue.
I've seen a lot of rhetoric on social media platforms like TikTok about sensory issues among autistic people. However, that has personally never had a huge impact on me. I think for a lot of women and girls with ASD, interacting with other people is the biggest struggle. For many with a condition, you don't really understand social interaction. Unless you practice by observing and learning from other people, it can be very isolating. Everyone with autism has different behaviors, but for me, it's like the whole world has this inside joke that I don't understand. It's like everyone's part of a huge group chat, but I miss out on the beginning. Now I'm just not quite sure what's going on. I can try and keep up, but at the end of the day, I probably won't ever really get it.
Yeah. That's true.
Masking is a process where a person overcompensates so people don't realize they are autistic. For example, one common behavior would be just not talking, but then sometimes you can seem a bit emotionless and people will ask whether you're angry or sad. I think masking depends on who you're with. If I'm around my best friends or my family, there's not as much pressure, because they know me. But if I'm with loads of people, it's harder. My biggest fear is unmasking. To me, it feels like when you have a very ripe, lovely apple, you know that no matter what, no matter how amazing the apple originally was, that at some point it's going to go through a chemical reaction and become rotten, thrown away and get eaten by worms. That's kind of how I feel about unmasking. Like once people know I am autistic, see me having a meltdown or doing something unconventional, I'm never that person who I was originally and will become someone who is crazy.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Building my music career, I was signed to a record label 2 years ago. Often these days, aspiring musicians get recognized through social media, but for me it was all through live performances. It was just me and my keyboard, and I happened to run into the right people, all by chance. I didn't really have a choice about being open with my autism in the music industry, because I was getting a reputation as someone who was impolite. I would work with people who I think expected women to be super vague about their feedback, but of course I am very direct. Especially some of the men I was working with, I felt they did not like that. I don't think they'd experienced girls in the industry saying, "This is what I want, and if I don't like it, I will be open and tell you." People thought I was too blunt and aggressive, and I didn't want people to think I was doing this on purpose. Because I'm not.
Like, bro, that's funny. Continue.
Seeing autism as a TikTok trend recently, I have noticed that videos about autism have started flooding platforms like TikTok. They seem to have been circulating online for a long time, but because I don't tend to engage with the mental health side of social media, plus I believe they actually have been targeting those who are not autistic, it took me a little while to notice them. I have seen videos stating that things such as disliking velvet, hating big spoons, or bumping into walls could be signs you have autism. While, of course, sensory issues are associated with autism, it made me feel more self-conscious, because I thought, now, if I tell people I'm autistic, are they going to think I just bump into walls? Is that all it is now? I saw one video with the caption, "We all have that one friend that is low-key autistic." I felt the creator of this content was just using words without meaning. When you are diagnosed with autism, it's a very long process, and doctors have this huge chunk of paperwork. I just imagined a doctor holding up this big pile of documents and saying to parents, "Your child is low-key autistic."
That's funny. Continue.
I feel these types of trends are harmful because they're taking these little things that autistic people do and creating a narrative that these quirks are the only thing autism is, which I believe is harmful because it is reducing those with the condition to their small behaviors and ignoring the fact that at its core, ASD is a developmental disability that affects your entire life. Because I'm a small person, if I have an emotional reaction, people will not likely think I'm a threat. However, when larger men with autism have meltdowns, it can't be seen as aggression and could lead to them being physically restrained. I think it's important to acknowledge that sometimes people do get scared of those with autism, so to only associate the condition with something like not liking a certain fabric, I believe is really dangerous and absolutely takes away from bigger issues, which I don't see anybody really talking about. Sometimes, my personality can be very extreme. My mood can switch from fine to being extremely low in seconds. For example, a few weeks ago my earphones broke as I was walking. When it happened, I had an extreme drop in mood to the point where I felt suicidal. Rationally, it's obvious I can go and buy a pair of headphones, but at that moment, it does not feel like that. I feel this kind of thing isn't really spoken about online because that unpredictability is not palatable. To say that sometimes things can affect me to the point where it's disabling my entire existence. I understand why some autistic creators don't want to talk about it, because there's a sense of shame. So, instead of doing that, they talk about autism in a family-friendly way. I think they're trying to be helpful, but it makes people like me think, am I nuts? Is this not normal for someone with autism?
I'll be right back. Okay guys, we are back.
Helpful, but it makes people like me think, am I nuts? Is this not normal for someone with autism?
Yeah. Let's continue.
Sometimes, I think people on social media randomly pick things to obsess over, which at the moment seems to include autism. It's easy for a lot of people to relate to videos picking out these small quirky behaviors, so they get a lot of views. But if the person running the account talked about issues like autistic people being particularly susceptible to bullying, I suspect it would not be so relatable and fun and would not get the same amount of interaction. I really want people to understand the less talked about symptoms, like the extreme anxiety, mood swings which occur really regularly. I think the thought of having autism can make some social media users feel special. Especially after the COVID-19 pandemic, maybe people want to feel that bond and think it's nice to have this thing in common with lots of other people. I do not resent anybody for seeing these things and thinking, maybe I have this condition. However, I believe that for those with autism, it can definitely make your life harder. So it's very confusing that people appear to want the diagnosis. I don't want to get caught up in the narrative that life with autism is inherently going to be difficult. I believe a lot of autistic people are told that they are difficult to love and that life will always be hard. I want people to understand that is not true. That's a very limited perspective. When you can find people who appreciate that you're not completely like them, it's great. There are some people who may have had bad experiences with autistic people in the past and think we are not meant to function in society, but that's just not true. I have so many qualities that other people would love. I've always been creative. I can impersonate people, do accents, and am great at memorizing things. It's not all bad, and you have to focus on the things that come naturally to you. Otherwise, it's so easy to be caught up in the narrative that life with autism is inherently going to be difficult, because it absolutely does not have to be like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's it. But let's see what's down here, guys.
Cecily is a singer-songwriter from Auckland, New Zealand. You can follow her on Instagram or TikTok at @CecilySolozer or find her latest EP on Spotify or Amazon Music. All views expressed in this article are the author's own, as told to Monica Greep.
That was a good article, guys. So then that's gonna be the end of the video. The name, let me think for a minute. The links to these articles will be in the description. Also, the links to the subreddit and Discord server will be in the description. So, yeah, anyways. The other 4 or 5 articles that I was talking about earlier will be featured in another video. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another video from me. See you next time, guys. Bye.